What's good with YouTube? You already know Big Flacco from a convict's perspective. You know what I'm gonna do? Smash, dash, and slide on through. That little bit of energy, man. What's cracking, people? Hope everybody's having a positive day so far. Please, before we go any further, though, I need you to hit that like button. I need you to subscribe, and I need you to put a comment. I'm gonna give you guys a second, man, to do that real quick. Then we'll get to this video. So you guys took care of that, right? Hey, gracias. Good looking. So today's topic, man, is the Norteños' number one enemy. Um, a lot of people are going to think, okay, maybe it's the dropouts, the flowers, the riders, the MA, and whatnot. No, it's none of those. It's always been, since the day I've entered the system and learned, it's always been considered administration. CDC, Department of Corrections. Now, bear in mind, I'm going to be as transparent in doing this topic and explaining everything. Now, as men who had to enter the system, right, many of us made poor choices that led us to go to prison. I've never denied that. You know, there has to be rules of conduct in any society. Now, the problem that we've always had, right, was the treatment that was bestowed upon those that were Norteños in the system. You know, we had it pretty bad, you know, by the Department of Corrections for years. Like, they used to do a lot of things like they're doing with the Bulldogs now. That was something they used to do to us Norteños. They used to look at us as troublemakers, as the instigators. Because we get to a yard, 30 deep maybe, there's a bunch of Sureños. The Sureños used to try to tell us what we could and couldn't do. We're going to get off. This is that plain and simple. We're not going to sit there and tolerate any type of oppression from any group, period. We wanted our, when I say we, I'm talking past tense, but I'm trying to explain this. We wanted our fair share of the pie. You know what I'm saying? If you got two Kool-Aids, we wanted two Kool-Aids. If you had a table, we wanted our own table. And those are the things that we fought for on those lines. Just to be able to have some type of existence and plant our flag to where we could function without the threat or interference from our oppositions. That was the whole goal, the struggle. And the struggle was to continue that forward, because every day you're going to have those who are going to try to go against you, who are trying to bring you down, who are looking at you as an obstacle, as the foe. Okay? And administration, man, they've always done a lot of things, because for years we were not allowed to like talk to correctional officers. We were not allowed to do certain things, and therefore we were considered a hostile anti-group. And plus, in addition to this, our relationship with the BGF, I think, had a lot to do with a lot of things as well, because BGF was a revolutionary movement. We emulated a lot of their ideals into our own ideologies. You know what I'm saying? As far as, you know, some of the teachings and whatnot, you know, being against the system to the left, or against everything that's right that the system says. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some correctional officers that were cool at some locations and treated us fair, but there was other places to where they would just really mistreat the Norteños. And being that we were the minority as far as on a lot of these yards, they would attack us more than they would like the Africanos or whatnot. So if you get to a facility where there's a bunch of rednecks that are running the facility, as far as correctional officers, that are in good with some ABs or NLR, their associates, right? They're going to be doing their bidding. They're going to be attacking us. Trust me on that. You know what I'm saying? Look what happened to me when I took off on a dude that they put me in the shower with. You know what I'm saying? They put me on a tier fucking all the way last cell just to fucking punish me. You know? It's bad enough that I was in a prison where there was really no Norteños, but just to be there, just to be fucking attacked. You know what I'm saying? They play games. They used to validate us a lot more than they did other groups, because the way our structure was it was so disciplined that it enabled us to do a lot more on these yards and establishing a yard. You know what I'm saying? Like the safety precaution, the safety measures that we had to do. People don't understand this. Information brings you aware. Awareness makes you secure, because you're aware of what's going on around you. So the little things that we used to do, that some people say, look, oh, the Northerners are being strict, they're being disciplined. Well, that's what allowed us to be on yards where we were outnumbered, you know what I'm saying? You know, 15 to 1 or 10 to 1 odds, you know, because we had that type of security, you know, and they didn't like that. And we educated each other, and we did all kinds of things, and we fought the system. Any type of injustices that happened, we would file with 602s, we'd take them through class actions. We would do all the stuff that they do not like, you know, and you know, it's the same thing for some of these other groups. It was kind of easier if we were put in a yard, like spread out. They used to spread us out. Like they would send us down to like Calipatria, Centinela. knowing damn well we were gonna get hit. And they wouldn't send fucking like 4 or 5. They'd send just one. I know 2 people that got sent to Calipatria, and they got hit, both of them, the same day they went to the yard. Then Sentinella, the homeboys had a little yard over there for a minute. Same thing. So because some of these groups refuse to have interactions with correctional staff at times, a lot of times there was no relationships to safeguard or obtain certain things or have certain privileges. And I used to see that, man, like to where we weren't really interacting like other groups were, and other groups had more sway, more pull, you know. And it's because of a lot of things that they used to do. Like, look at the Corcoran shoe wars, right? Not one white and not one Sudano got killed. You know what I'm saying? Yet blacks and northerners. You know what I'm saying? That tells you a lot, man. And they used to do a lot of things that would it's very rare that you hear them slipping up for like, the whites or the Sudanos. You know what I mean? And Tracy, when I was running Tracy in 2006, they brought 4 white-looking northerners and put them in the cafeteria and brought out a bunch of whites to where they had to fight like 4 on 40 in the cafeteria. That was a setup. Another time, they allowed the white to be walking by, while there was an old man that was in a wheelchair that was a northerner, and he ended up getting rushed in his wheelchair. This is when we're at war with the wolf packs and the skinheads there. So they've always done certain things to like, focus more upon the Nortenos than any other group. So therefore, they were always considered the enemy. You know what I'm saying? As far as they were the number one enemy. Now, it didn't mean that we'd go disrespecting them. You know what I'm saying? Because that was part of our fucking guidelines too, was not to disrespect the canine. Like even that word canine. I've heard homeboys that used to use that word on the tier. I used to grill them on the tier, like, hey, noise check that shit, because little things like that people don't realize. Canine is a disrespectful term. You're just calling the staff a fucking dog, And and a lot of these IGI were gun ho because they wanted to know the inner workings of how the Nortenos were functioning. They knew about the discipline. They knew about the procedures. So like half our validations that I seen were fucking people that weren't even fucking members of the structure, and the structure wasn't even a prison gang. And they did that in the 90s because the structure NR was coming out strong, and they were really starting to establish lines for the gente, because the way the NR and Nortenos were functioning, the Sudanos were not even functioning on that level. They had a whole different procedure. They thought it was, they probably were wondering, okay, we sent fucking only 6 to rush them. They didn't see the logic behind what we were doing. We were removing all key targets, and we were taking out as many of them to the hole as we could in order to bring the numbers down. And it's things like that they did not, appreciate the administration. So they used to pinpoint us as far as, hit our cells, fucking send us different locations, pop the doors when we're like, they used to do a lot of things to try to stir the pot and try to get us, because there was a lot of animosity because of how we functioned. They knew if you try to talk to a Norteño, he wasn't going to talk. He wasn't going to say nothing. A real Norteño. So therefore, there was no sense. But other groups, there'd be a little bit more, I'm not going to say tolerance, but man, what happens over there when they get interviews, 2 different things. Us, we can't do it back then. So administration was always known as our number one enemy. And like I said, it's not the fact of them, of us not deserving to be incarcerated. It's the fact of how they treated us, the inhumane conditions, the mistreatment, the favoritizing of other groups based upon the fact that we were lower numbers. Same thing you see with the Bulldogs that's going on is the same thing that was going on with Norteños back then. But we didn't have a social media platform to put that shit out there. I got put in the management cell for fucking a week. You know what I'm saying? With no running water, butt naked, no reading material, no blanket, for a fucking week. And that was just fucking set me straight. Come on, man. There were certain things that we wouldn't be able to acquire because of being a Norteño. Certain stuff in the county jail, we tried to get certain jobs. They wouldn't give it to Norteños. So the mistreatment was always there. And the favoritism towards other races was always there. Therefore, it was a lot harder for us to obtain the resources in order to establish a main line. Part of establishing the main line is establishing resources and cutting off everybody else's terrain. Those are cold warfare tactics, and it was a lot of work for us to even be able to infiltrate any facility because of how we were categorized. Because they used to tell me that all the time. You guys are troublemakers. We don't want you guys here. That was the attitude at some of the places I was at. Because we're the ones that were kicking shit off, or they found us at fault because we'd go to yards and stuff, and the Sudanians were pretty smart. They had the numbers, so they would put us in a situation where we had to get off. Look at what happened with Ashley and them in the Bay. They told the homeboys, you can't have your shirts off. You already know what we're gonna do. We're gonna rush now. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna have anybody dictate our programs. And see, that was a daily struggle that people don't realize today that these ends have that are locked up. They don't realize how fucking bad it was for us in the system, man. There was very few prisons where we had it good, like maybe Solano and Quentin. But even Solano, they kind of hated us. It's just that we had too many numbers there. They couldn't really target everybody. So that's been our number one enemy, or the Nortenos' number one enemy. It has always been CDC, administration. That their abilities to try to curtail and circumvent any progress for the people. What I'm saying? Putting them in positions to where they're going to catch you terms, or putting them in a position where they're going to go in the hole. The whole goal is to be out there on the main lines and enjoying everything that you can to make prison a better state and you learn to be a better person and self-educate yourself. You can do that in the hole, but you're not obtaining any tools, and you're not able to live life. You're living life through a cell. What type of rehabilitation is that? So I've been through a lot of shit. I'm telling you guys right now, man, like based upon the fact of being a Norteño, and the mistreatment that occurs, and the abuses and the setups and the stages. I don't think anybody understands. That's why when I hear people talk about, sometimes they say, "Oh, you don't know how it feels to be black." I'm like, you don't know how it feels to be a Norteño in prison, because we had it worse than anybody back in the days. And it was based upon the fact of how we functioned, how we conducted ourselves, and we weren't going to lower our standards of how we felt we should be perceived. We were going to demand our respect from everybody. But administration seen a problem with that. So therefore, they became our number one opposition. The validation was used to fucking infiltrate our yards to where fucking they had people out there that were fucking no good they can control it. You know what I'm saying? They pinpointed us a lot because they looked at us as the main instigators. Because no matter where we went, we were either getting off with the Sudanos or Bulldogs. And it was a hard life, And the next thing you know, you're validated. A couple of melees later, shit, it's over. Your career's over in prison. That's how they had it. It was a revolving cycle. Anybody that was supposed to be righteous and stood before something, they wanted to stop what you were doing, And there's other oppositions that are pretty close. Like I said, number two would probably be all dropouts. You know what I'm saying? And I might as well turn this into to discuss all the different enemies the Norteños have. Any dropout supposed to be considered, would be number two, which would be like they consider not dropouts, but those that left the organization. I'd say Bulldogs would be one, right? And probably Bulldogs would probably be one of the main ones because they used to be Norte and they broke off from the NF in structure and were able to establish themselves on these yards. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think what led to them not being able to be brought back at that time was that they started to build certain relationships with Sudanos that didn't last that long. It lasted maybe a year, if that, year and a half. Because there were some yards where they were telling the Bulldogs, you guys can stay here, but any buster rolls up, you have to deal with it. So basically, the Bulldogs started moving on homeboys when they get to certain facilities like Avenal, Pleasant Valley, and different locations. So Bulldogs, I would have to say, is number two. And then number three would probably be the Riders, the Flores. You know what I'm saying? Because they're an offshoot of being a former Norteño. So therefore, they know the ins and outs of how the Norteños program, and therefore they have animosity towards the cause and lucha. This is how they're going to look at it. And then number four would have to be the MA, and then AB, and then the Sureños. You know what I'm saying? The MA and AB have always been told, and NLR, right, that they are a priority target, that they cannot walk our lines. You know what I mean? That's what we were schooled and taught. Therefore, we We used to do, you know, education on certain tattoos and certain things, how to investigate and go further in finding out someone's status. But these are how the groups that we had enemies. But correctional staff was always number one. You know. Anyways, quick spiel, man. A little surprise. I'm gonna have a couple other ones I'm gonna be dropping, man, trying to catch up for yesterday, man. But I got some good ones I'm about to do right now. You guys all have a good one. It's your boy Flacco. I'm out.